A recent poll finds Americans are losing faith in major U.S. institutions. A Gallup poll found both President Joe Biden and the U.S. Supreme Court are losing public confidence. Confidence in the presidency stands at 26%. Confidence in the high court, 27%. And confidence in public schools was at 26%. That's an all-time low. The survey was done in early June before the Supreme Court issued decisions affecting affirmative action in education and college loans. President Biden made several promises involving education when he took office, including relieving student debt, increased education funding for low-income students, and making community college tuition-free. But how well has he delivered on these promises? Joining me now to answer that question is Carrie Rodriguez. She's the president of the National Parents Union. Welcome to the Griot. President Biden wanted to triple funding for Title I, which is used to help low-income students, and really low-income schools. After fighting with Republicans, Biden got an 11% increase. Talk to me about, one, is that enough? And two, why do we need the money in the first place?
Oh, it's absolutely not enough. And we know it's not enough because we have huge problems when it comes to giving kids the right to read and have math proficiency in this country. The problem is that we've had increases in funding, but what we're doing with the funding is not actually effective for our kids. So we're throwing a lot of money at the problems, but it seems like a lot of folks don't even know what to do with the money so we can effectively implement programs that are going to impact our kids directly in the classroom. And that's where the rubber's meeting the road right now.
It absolutely is. Republicans have said, look, we got some solutions for you. Education isn't doing well. Schools aren't doing well. We need to create market-based solutions. We need to make schools competitive with each other. We need to give parents options for their educational journey. So they said vouchers, charter schools, private schools. These are all things that we need. And if we do that, we'll be okay. Of course, Democrats see it differently. They say that just strips away money from traditional public schools. When you hear school choice, where do you sit in that argument and why?
Well, I'm actually a person that is a huge proponent for school choice because, frankly, we're tying ourselves to a model of education that's been around for 190 years where you have one educator at the head of a classroom in front of 25 kids. It doesn't work. It's not effective. And frankly, we even have a hard time embracing technology in the classroom. We've got, it was very clear during the pandemic. We had teachers and educators who are leading our children into the digital age that had a hard time using Zoom and using PowerPoint. So I think it was a kind of a moment of reckoning that we went through saying, oh my gosh, we have this antiquated model of traditional American publication or American education. And parents saw choices and options and innovations and workarounds that they were interested in. Frankly, I don't think that the American public education system is evolving fast enough. I think we are addicted to this antiquated model, and it's proving to be very difficult to change. So while I don't think that the wild, radical Republican view of whipping checks at the American public without giving them choices worth choosing is the right pathway, I think we have to do a lot of reflection about the American public education system and its failure to evolve.
What does that mean in practical terms, though? Just help me understand in practical terms. Do you support vouchers?
I don't. No, the only voucher program that I think is remotely interesting is actually the one that is happening in Pennsylvania that has tremendous guardrails around only being able to use the vouchers with programs that have very specific outcomes and data that proves that we're going to actually be educating children. I don't think whipping checks at parents and expecting them to just figure it out is innovative in any sense of the word. But I will say, as the mother of 5, with kids that are in traditional public schools, in Catholic schools, and in therapeutic programs, the one-size-fit-all model that we have been holding on to does not work for all kids. And a lot of our kids are struggling. And even the ones that successfully navigate the 12 years of education we give them, they launch and they're not ready. They've got to take 2 years of remedial courses before they can take a college-level course. That's a problem.
That is a problem. Talk to me about the students who are behind already and then got more behind after the pandemic. We saw math scores, reading scores drop even further for many populations than they were in 2019. How do we fix that? How do we direct that?
Well, this has just exacerbated the problem. I mean, we had President Biden and frankly, President Trump as well, whipping $130 billion in federal funding down to districts that didn't know how to spend that money. So now we are coming up against the fiscal cliff, which by September 30th, 2024, all these schools are going to have to spend down that money. Half of them haven't even spent the money they got from the feds, and the other half didn't spend it wisely. We can tell that because all the data is telling us that our kids are not proficient in reading. What we're trying to do with the National Parents Union is actually create an actionable right for children across this country to have a right to read, to have a right to math proficiency by third grade. And if not, it's going to trigger intervention. The only way we have ever had transformational change in America's public education system is when parents, who are not just parents, but our future plaintiffs, took the American public education system to court for real change, for real, outcomes and delivery. And that's what it's going to take. We were successful in Minnesota, where we passed a piece of legislation that guarantees 1.3 million children the right to read. And that is something to be basic and fundamental across this country. That's what I'm asking President Biden to do on a regular basis. That's what I'm chasing Secretary Cardona over. The idea that we are content with major cities in this country that have between 8 and 18% literacy proficiency, which is the same as what we see in incarcerated people, and we don't see that as an injustice. Connect the dots. It's 2023. It's wild that we are not seeing.
So dots definitely need to be connected, and I want to make sure we got to run, Carrie, but I want to make sure you come back here because we got to unpack this stuff, because education reform, education policy is something we take very seriously on the show, and we got a lot of work to do. Everybody, Carrie Rodriguez is president of the National Parents Union. Again, thanks for joining us.